This month, researchers made a major discovery. The research shows that a specific genetic trait virtually guarantees someone will get Alzheimer's.
That's right. Here to talk more about this gene is our health expert, Dr. Payal Kohli. Dr. Kohli, good morning.
Good morning. What a big breakthrough in
Truly.
medicine, right?
So what can you tell us about this gene?
Yeah, so for the longest time, Alzheimer's has been a black box. We have no idea what causes it. We don't know how to prevent it. And we did know about this gene. It's called ApoE. Everybody has it. We have different versions of it. We thought if you had one bad version called ApoE4, you have a higher risk. That's about 25% of us. If you have two bad versions, that's 2 to 3% of us, you have a significantly higher risk. Now we're realizing, no, if you have two bad versions, that's actually causal. That basically means you're going to go on to develop Alzheimer's. And so that's a really big breakthrough.
Yeah.
It's no longer a risk, it's more of a definitive situation.
That's exactly right. And so far, we didn't really figure this out because this gene is involved actually in moving cholesterol around our body. So a lot of these people were dying of heart disease. It's also involved in clearing plaques from our brain. And that's why we're thinking if you have two versions of this gene, you're not clearing those plaques as efficiently. That's why they build up in the brain. That's why you get this sort of genetic form of Alzheimer's.
So what's different about this inherited form of Alzheimer's?
It's much more aggressive, unfortunately. And what we're learning about Alzheimer's is they're not all the same. The types of Alzheimer's you get can be very different. So this one you usually get about 10 years earlier, you start to have symptoms. In your mid-50s, you can start to have some of the blood markers that suggest you're going to get Alzheimer's. And by your mid-60s, you can actually have some of those plaques in the brain. So identifying individuals that may have these particular genes can really help us target treatments towards this whole different type of Alzheimer's.
So as you were mentioning, with the two copies, follow-up to that, does everyone who has two copies of this gene, will they get Alzheimer's dementia?
Here's what's interesting. So if you've got two copies of this gene, you have a 95% probability of having those plaques in your brain. But not everybody who has plaques in their brain is going to have the dementia and the cognitive decline and the symptoms. The majority of those people will, but not every single person. So something about our environment, despite having plaques, can change how we kind of manifest those plaques. And what else is different is race. So Caucasians who have two bad copies versus Black individuals who have two bad copies actually have different risk factors for going on to develop Alzheimer's.
Why is that?
We're not really sure we understand, but we think it might be the expression of those genes, or it might be the environment in which those genes sort of portray themselves.
So should we all be going out and getting tested for the gene?
So the testing is available. In fact, movie stars like Chris Hemsworth have actually gone and gotten tested, and he does have two copies of this gene. But the Alzheimer's Association does not recommend testing right now. So even though we can do it, we probably shouldn't, because obviously it has a lot of psychological, emotional, financial implications, and there's not much we can do about it. So if you do find out you have two bad copies of this, there's not a lot of treatments or therapies we can offer. Now, there is a treatment for Alzheimer's called Leqembi. So if you've already got Alzheimer's, we try to figure out if you have this type of Alzheimer's to see whether or not you're a good candidate for Leqembi if you have two bad copies of the gene. But for somebody who doesn't have it, is otherwise healthy, we don't actually recommend checking for it right now.
Yeah, so maybe we're not getting tested right now, but are there things we can be doing right now to prevent Alzheimer's?
There are, and that's the whole point here. Even if you've got these two bad genes, not every single person is going to go on to develop dementia. So living a healthy lifestyle, making sure that you're doing the other things that prevent other types of dementia called vascular dementia, where the small blood vessels in the brain are getting clogged up. Watching your cholesterol, keeping the bad cholesterol below 70 is a good recipe for that. Making sure you're getting good sleep, good exercise, socializing with others. These are all ways in which we can keep our mind young and prevent and protect ourselves from other types of dementias.
Is there any truth behind the drinking a lot of coffee thing? I heard that
What is this?
Yes, I heard that if you drink a lot of coffee, it can be preventative too, but I don't know.
So coffee does have some substances that can reduce neuroinflammation, but drinking a lot of coffee can actually be a stimulant as well, can raise your blood pressure. So as with everything in life, there's a sweet spot.
Everything in moderation.
Right, you don't want to overdo it and drink too much coffee.
You know why I was asking?
I know exactly why you're asking. That's why I was like, well, tell me more about this
I was being
coffee
preventative,
thing.
I thought. Dr. Kohli, thank you so much. And you can find all of Dr. Kohli's appearances on 9news.com/Dr. Kohli.
All right, let's